Hey everyone, we're here today with Caitlin Sills, another of our great speakers that we're going to have at Expo Support Driven 2025. And we're really excited. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and with the community that is going to be attending at Expo, hopefully.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So you're going to participate on the knowledge management track. That's right?
Yes.
Okay, and the name of your talk is Make It Make Sense to the Bot, a hands-on guide to fixing help articles for generative AI. So this is a lot at the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit more about what attendees can expect?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the last expo, there were a lot of amazing talks about making sure that your documentation, like your help center articles, are really on point before you implement generative AI, which is absolutely true. I didn't see there a lot of sort of nuts and bolts, hands-on, instructive sort of information about what exactly you need to do that. So in my consulting business, that's exactly what I do. Very niche down, kind of fixing knowledge bases for generative AI. So I have a lot of tricks and tips and some things that aren't as obvious to say somebody at like the support leadership level think, okay, we'll get our knowledge base into shape, but you actually have to be a little bit more detail oriented to really get generative AI bot to perform. So that's sort of what I'll be going over. So a bot that's not performing optimally, and then showing the very specific kind of tweaks that you can make to the help center as a whole, help articles individually, and then the impact of that on the bot performance. So that's my hope, is to kind of not only show those tips and tricks and like, here's really how you can do it, but to really reiterate the need to focus on documentation with, really invest in documentation, not only for generative AI, that's the headline, but, if you make your documentation really great so that your bot performs really well, it's also going to be really great for your users.
It's curious because sometimes lately, I mean, in the last couple of years, we've heard so much about AI and how you should use it and implement it in your work, but we don't think as much as maybe we should that we need to still do some adjustments so it can actually fit into our workplace. So I think this is really interesting because even AI needs our help.
Exactly. AI is not plug and play. It looks smart, but it only looks smart. It's actually just not very smart. So there's quite a few things you need to do to kind of help it along. So yeah, I think that that's sometimes a hard lesson for support teams to learn, because it seems like it should be plug and play, but it's not. So I'm just gonna get out there and try and make sure everybody knows in advance before they plug their bot in, to really their documentation.
You were also mentioning to work on this process of demystifying generative AI, right?
Yeah, I think that AI, it is kind of like a black box, even for somebody like me who's worked with it a lot. When you're using a third party tool, you don't know everything that's going on. Even if, even if you're just using Chat GPT, what you put in and what comes out are not always consistent. It can be a little bit challenging to figure out the right inputs to get the right outputs.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I'll be addressing, is sort of drill down onto those inputs that can kind of provide a consistent output for either your chatbot or your AI agent or whatever AI tool you're using that's using, a knowledge base as its source.
Would you say that's the most hard part about figuring out AI, like how to talk to or get to know those prompts you were saying? Or what would you say it's the hardest part about using or implementing AI?
Probably the hardest part is that it takes a lot of testing and iterating, which is part of the process. So even if somebody let me completely fix their knowledge base before plugging in a chatbot, and I did everything I do to properly format the articles, make sure it's comprehensive, etc. The bot's still going to maybe do some weirdness. That's the black box part of it. So a lot of that is just testing and iterating and figuring out those right inputs. But that does take time and investment. So the best way to do it really is to have your knowledge base prepped. That's like core thing. I'd say no matter what tool you're using, a lot of people are trying to figure out like what chat bot do I use? And there are differences between them, but ultimately I believe that what you really need to invest in is that knowledge and getting that really on point first. And then everything's easier. And the hard stuff is just sort of tweaking the details.
How would you explain why is this important? Why should someone in their workplace should go into all of this that might be kind of difficult and to
Yeah.
tweak it and work on this?
Generative AI is here and it's not going anywhere. And it is a way to really increase self-service and it's a super powerful tool for sport teams. So I think that there's a lot of frustration sometimes because there's the push to adopt it because it's here to stay, but then it doesn't perform well. And so I think what's important about my talk is it's like really providing the tools to like, how do you get your bot to perform? Because probably your executives are going to ask you to implement a bot. It's just what's happening now. So
Yeah.
I think that like really understanding as much as possible, like how to do that investment and how important that investment is to not have a very frustrating experience with a poorly performing bot that's frustrating your users and all the like downstream effects of that is kind of my goal in my work and in this talk is to just like have the best bot you can be because you're probably going to have a bot.
How did you came up with this topic from all the different tracks and everything? How did you reach to this specific one?
Yeah, I actually sort of accidentally became sort of an expert in this. I did this work at my previous role, and then I ended up with a client that who needed some of this work done, and then it just like really fascinated me. It's really fun. I'm a documentation person. I think documentation is totally underrated and
Yeah.
isn't like most folks don't invest in knowledge management, which, is understandable if you don't really need it, but now it's really important. So I feel like, it's time for documentation for it to stay in the sun. But yeah, I just love making bots do my bidding through documentation. So I just really want to share that with people. Bots seem scary and uncontrolled, but we can wrangle the bots with documentation.
And I love that it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like you don't have to focus only on documentation, but not using AI and not only AI. Like you can fix and work with both of them and make it work for you. And bring all your experience and background of customer support. When did you get to know support driven?
Oh, I think it was just a friend said, I think it was actually when I was trying to break into tech a long time ago. I worked in nonprofits and I really wanted to work in tech. And I had a friend who said, "Oh, well, do you know about support driven?" I did not. And then I did. I was like, "Oh, wow." And then I started working in support at Airbnb, my first tech job. And I was like, yes, these are my people, the support people. So, and I've been there ever since. When I moved into support operations from the support team, I was jumping in the deep end and had to learn to wear all the hats, and support driven was a huge source of help. I asked many questions. So now I'm giving back.
I love that. This is your first time at Expo, right?
It's my first time speaking, but I
Okay.
attended last year. Yeah.
Ah, that's really nice. Is there something specific you're most looking forward to right now about Expo? About being a speaker or maybe attending on other tracks?
Yeah, I mean, I just last year I did a lot of the knowledge management AI tracks as I would, and I'm really excited for that again. I had such great conversations with, especially with other documentation folks. I think is the most fun because the people who love documentation like really love documentation. So I love connecting with those people and just nerding out about that stuff.
We are really looking forward for your presentation at Expo. And yeah, I'll be happy to know more about your talk and to keep making great connections.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.